So what I want to talk about real quick today is I want to talk about success. And that's like a pretty, cliche topic, right? People say, oh, I want to talk about success, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to be too, esoteric or anything like that. If you know anything about me, you know I like to be very practical when I'm talking about. And so when you're coming up with a definition of what success means, to me, what success means is getting the results that you set out to get when you started an endeavor, right? When I start some endeavor, I start to do something, I want to get to a specific set of results. And if I get to that specific set of results, then I have been successful, right? And I've put together a formula. Some of you may have heard me talk about before, but not in as much detail unless you read my book, which you can get on Amazon, Sidestepping, where I go into it in a lot of detail. But this success formula basically is mapped out as C plus M plus SK, right, times DA divided by O is equal to R. So what's all those letters mean? C stands for character, right? And what is character, right? Character is essentially the things that, are innate to your personality, like, being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, saying what you mean when you say it, just having good character, right? We can go into that in super detail, right? But character is that first piece, that's C, right? Having good character. Because a concept that my uncle used to always say, right, is that character, right, that talent can get you through the door, but character is what will sustain you in the position, right? And we see a lot of times in the world where people get to a position of excellence, so to speak, because of their talent, and they get through the door and people love them, etc. But then they have some type of major character flaw that makes them do something that they really should not do when they're tempted with that power that they now are in. And because of that, they have a big fall from grace, and it ends up being horrible. So you need to fix those things inside yourself first before you get to the success. Or if you start getting the success, you need to start fixing them now, whatever those things might be, right? Being honorable, etc. Now, the next piece is the mindset. That's what the M is for, the mindset. So what is the mindset, right? Some people might get mindset mixed up with character. You can have a great mindset and a bad character, right? You can have a bad character and be, super mega drug kingpin, but your mindset, right? Like your focus, your determination, your ability to follow through with tasks, like all of those things, right, can be super strong. Like where people can throw insults at you, et cetera, and they just bounce right off of you because your mindset is so strong, and you have such a ability to be able to ignore naysayers and do those things. All of that is your mindset, because you can have a great character and be a good person, but you could be the type of person where the moment you get some friction, et cetera, the moment that happens, you fall off from the goal, right? And you need to make sure that your mindset is strong, because you're always going to be pushed in the opposite direction of your goals. It's going to happen all the time. There's always going to be friction. There's always going to be problems that are going to arise. There's always going to be things that don't go exactly according to plan. And your mindset is what's going to help you get through those things, right? And then we have the next piece, which is the part that I want to spend the most time on, because let's say you have a great character, you have a great mindset. The next part, the SK part, is the specialized knowledge, right? You probably heard the saying before, my people perish for lack of knowledge. If you don't have specialized knowledge, it doesn't matter how good your character is or how good your mindset is. If you don't have any specialized knowledge, you don't have a skill or a knowledge base that you can use in order to generate income or generate results, you're not going to be able to generate those results just because you're a good person and you have a great mindset, right? Being a good person, having a great mindset is important, but you need that specialized knowledge. Let's say, for example, you're a great person, right? And you have a great mindset, and you want to be a photographer, but you don't know anything about taking pictures, you don't know anything about being a photographer, it's not going to matter that you have a great mindset and a great character. You need to spend the time, spend the hours on your craft to get good at being a great photographer so that you can take those skills and mold those together with your character and your mindset to build a business around that skill set. And if you allow yourself to get immersed in something, right, whether that be, we're talking about technology a lot of the time, whether that be being a great creator with the creator economy, whether that become being a world-class coder or software engineer, whether that's being an amazing UX researcher or UX designer, whether that's being a great graphic designer, a great video editor, a great audio engineer, a great whatever that thing might be, right? You spend the time, you spend the hours, and you learn that field strongly, and you pair that with a great character and a great mindset, that's going to go really well for you. But it's not going to go as well for everybody because everybody's circumstances are not the same. And that's where the O comes in. The O is the obstacles, right? And everybody has their own set of obstacles. There's some obstacles that we all have, but obstacles that are unique to everybody's situation. Some people, they're born into a family that has some wealth. So they're able to put you in private school and do this and do this and do that because of, the benefit of your lineage, right? You may be born into a more poor family, right? And, as a result of that, there might be a little bit less resources that you have available to you. You might be, born in, a country where you don't have access to a lot of resources. So that might be an issue as well. Or you could be born, born in a great country like Bahrain where, everything is amazing. So it depends on where, you might have obstacles as a result of some of those things. You also might have personal obstacles, right? You might have speech impediments, or you might have learning disabilities. You might be colorblind. You might be tall, be short. All these different things create different circumstances that can become obstacles that you need to be able to sidestep, overcome, and step over, right? And those, no matter what you have going on with your character, mindset, and specialized knowledge, right, you're going to need to do enough of those. You need to get your character, mindset, specialized knowledge strong enough to overcome those obstacles. And that's why in the formula, you have character, mindset, and specialized knowledge, right? And then also you have obstacles that's underneath all that. But the next piece is that directed action, right? Which also goes in the top part, right? Where you're going to multiply all of that character, mindset, specialized knowledge with directed action. And that's how you counteract the obstacles, right? That directed action is your action plans, et cetera, that have you take your character, mindset, and specialized knowledge and apply it to a plan that works. And depending on how good that directed action is, those action steps that you take, it's going to directly affect how well you can overcome any obstacles that are in your way to make those things happen, whether that's financial obstacles, whether that is language barriers, whether that is, situational obstacles, whether that's health challenges, whatever those things might be, you need to, have a plan for overcoming those, and you need to be real about the obstacles that are in your way. And when you put those things together, what those end up equaling is your results, right? Your character, mindset, specialized knowledge, along with the directed action plan, right? Divided directly by all the obstacles that are in your way, right? The way that you navigate that is eventually going to create the results that you get, right? And those results are either going to be aligned with the results that you want, or they won't be aligned with the results you want. And you have to increase what's happening on the top of the equation and lower the things happening on the bottom, which are your obstacles. That either eliminating the obstacles altogether, right, or overcoming them by the sheer amount of character, mindset, specialized knowledge, and directed action that you put into place. So that is how that works. And so the reason why I like to point that out is because a lot of people look at success like it's magic. It's not magic. If you listen to anybody that's been successful at anything and they tell you their story, there is a list of things that occurred to point them in a direction to get the results that they had, right? Character, mindset, specialized knowledge, directed action, divided by obstacles equal results. Even when you think about things that just you end up being lucky and receiving, right? Those bits of luck really normally come from an obstacle being removed by a outside source that you weren't familiar with. And you never can count on those things, but they might come in and remove an obstacle for you. And if you're prepared with what you were setting up in the top of the equation, when the obstacle gets removed, it just multiplies your success, right? So at the end of the day, everything kind of fits into that framework, and you can only control your inputs to your character, mindset, specialized knowledge, and directed action, right? So that's up to you to do. So it's not magic. Essentially, you could think of it as like it's math, right? The character, mindset, specialized knowledge, action, your obstacles, right? Those are all going to equal your results.